Compassion, awareness, wisdom. Thought it's been a couple of weeks. Heard you talking about the fires. Let's say prayers for everybody who are affected by them. I always think of all the animals in the forest as well, all the creatures, the birds and the wings and the two-legged creatures and the four-legged creatures. They're losing their homes. They're losing their
Yes. Yes.
they're losing a lot. So remember them in your prayers as well. So do people go back and listen to the meditations that are recorded from these talks? Yeah. So the last talk I gave, whenever that was, there's a it's called the title of it is the 27-minute guided meditation on breath and energy. And Mohan puts the minutes in there, or maybe it's AI that does that. But on that talk, on that guided meditation, I want to work with that a little bit more today. And to go back to it, it's actually at minute 27. So on that group meditation, if you go to minute 27, then it's me giving an overview of the meditation. And I think that I listened to it the other day, and I thought it really encapsulated a lot of the points that I've been making over the years, and where the work that we're all doing together, I feel is going. So just make a note of that. But I'll talk a little bit about it now as well. Uh, so the last class I gave, I talked about pressing the pause button. Talked about that practice of pressing the pause button. That as we're moving through the day, as we're moving through our day, it's just to stop and to check in and to see where we're at. And hopefully, when you do that, you can connect with the meditation. You could connect with a feeling of calm. You can connect with the body. You can perhaps connect with a feeling of energy moving in the body. And if you're not able to do it, it simply means you have to practice that more. It simply means you have to practice it more. And by practicing it more, not necessarily the meditation in the morning or the evening, but practice pressing the pause button more. Learning to stop in the middle of your day, in the middle of your activity, in the middle of a conversation, in the middle of whatever you're doing, and check in with yourself and check in with that aspect of the underlying calm that, if we look, presents itself. And you're not going to be able to connect with it every time. There's going to be times where you're going to feel too flustered or too anxious or too busy or too tired. But it should be something that you do on a regular basis during the day, so you developed the ability to check in with that, to connect with that aspect of your being. So in the practices that we have been doing, we are working with the breath and the energy body, right? We're establishing calmness of breath. We're establishing a home base with the breath. And so when I talk about pressing the pause button, sometimes it's just that, just going to the home base for a moment and connecting with it. But every time we connect with it, every time we connect with the breath, energy body practice, we are creating an imprint on our brain, on our soul, if you will, on our being. We're creating an imprint. We're creating a footprint. You know, when you go to holy places in Asia, they have these places in the mountains and other places as well where they'll have a footprint of the Buddha or the footprint like of a saint. And it'll be in rock and it will look like a footprint. And sometimes it does, and sometimes it's like, yeah, maybe. But it's 1,000 years old or 2,000 years old, whatever it may be. And in a way, when we are doing this practice, both in the formal practice, but also in that pressing the pause button practice, we're creating a footprint. We're creating an impression in the mind stream. We're creating an impression in the energy body. And the more often we do that, the more that imprint becomes part of who we are. And really, we are on this journey to awaken to what it is we actually are. So as we connect with this practice again and again and again, then that impression becomes stronger and stronger. And as I say many times, that whatever work we do is never lost. We squander our energy, but the underlying impression of what we've done is still there somewhere. So what we're doing with a daily practice and what we're doing with this practice during the day is we are gathering that energy. We are gathering that force. And so at some point, it becomes a lot more natural. In the Vajrayana tradition, or the Tibetan tradition, I always wondered about tulkus. They have tulkus who are supposedly reincarnated lamas who are on the Mahayana path, so they come back again and again with the intention of liberating all beings. And one of the things I've noticed about, because I watch them, and is this person really a tulku? And how do you know he's a tulku? And how do you know he's a reincarnated lama? And they'll tell you themselves that they don't really know. Like, I don't know. They just told me I was a reincarnation of a lama. I don't really know. They just told me I was a tulku. So it's kind of a mysterious thing in a way, unless you perhaps have the vision to see all that stuff. But what I noticed about my travels, what I've noticed about my meetings when I met somebody who was considered at that level, is their commitment to the Dharma practice. You could say what you want about their enlightenment. I mean, what are you going to say? Frog in the well knows nothing of the bird in the sky. You could say what you think, oh, I like them, they're nice, or, there's a good energy about them, or they have 1,000 students, or whatever. But the ones that I had the fortune to spend just a little bit of time with, just hanging out with, perhaps for a day or a week, is in a very natural way, there was this steady commitment to the practice. And it's not like they're like this all day, or it's not like they're rigid all day. It's not like they're doing one thing or the other all day. But you sense this underlying commitment to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, this underlying commitment to awakening, this underlying commitment to maybe leaving this world a better place before you go. And that's the thing that struck me. Because I don't have the ability to see, somebody's past lives or anything like that. But it's like, yeah, most of the ones I met, they just have this undying focus, commitment towards practice, towards development. And somebody asked me once to write something about Namgyal Rinpoche, and one of the things I wrote was, and he could be a difficult teacher. He would challenge you, and he could be difficult to be around, and he could scare the heck out of you. And he could make you feel not good about yourself sometimes. But when I reflected on it, even in those days, I always knew he had my underlying development in mind with whatever relationship he had with me, whatever he said to me. I always knew in his heart, when he thought about me as a student, that that's what he thought of. So once again, it was this commitment to waking up. And there's ways you can do it in grand ways, or there's ways you can do it in small ways. An open, compassionate, kind heart. You're in a grocery store, somebody drops their cane. And you ask kindly, not to embarrass them, would you like me to pick that up for you? Little things. But there is this idea of moving towards, of always moving towards. So with that idea, in terms of the working with the breath and the energy body, we keep that close as well. Because that is the practice. I've developed this practice in my own way. through different studies that I've done, because I think it's a powerful purification practice. And that's what we're doing. When I say creating an imprint, I could say purification practice. So the mind is caught up in this or that, this event, this person, that person. Okay. But most of the stuff we're caught up in every day is just, it's smoke and mirrors. It's just a lot of stuff. But when we stop and we look directly at our experience, then we're connecting with that deeper aspect of ourselves that purifies and frees us. Let's see if there's something else I want to say. So I'll just read some notes that I made on this. So, and this could be in the meditation practice, formal meditation practice, but just in the stop and pause. All of this can happen in a moment. So we begin by connecting with the breath. And then we move the breath through the various energy centers in the body. And then we disseminate that energy throughout the entirety of the body. That's basically what we're doing. When we're doing that, we can visualize at times. You can visualize the spine. You can visualize the 6 points that we've been using are the third eye, the top of the head, the middle of the brain, the throat, the heart, and the hara, or the tien. But we can also, so those are touch points, but also we just open our perception up to the entirety of the body, and we feel what's there. So as we become more concentrated, our perception becomes more subtle. And as our perception becomes more subtle, we are connecting with deeper levels of conditioning in the body. We are connecting with energetic imprints in the body. A coarse example is you hurt your knee as a kid playing tennis, and as you open up to the energetic flow in the body, you notice when you come to your left knee, it feels different than your right knee. Maybe it's hard to feel. Maybe there's a little bit of a different kind of sensation there. Maybe there's pain. That's a conditioned pattern in the body, conditioned through trauma. So as we become more subtle, we start to feel different levels of what's taking place in the body. And we begin to recognize areas that are related to patterns. So we connect with, we breathe into, we have a sense of flow, opening up. But we can also do it in a moment. In a moment, you just stop and breathe. And what's the first thing that's most apparent that comes up? It might be your knee, it might be your chest, it might be your elbow, or it might be something completely different. So we are constantly working with this process. So as perception becomes more subtle, as the mind becomes more concentrated, as the mind becomes more skillful at stopping and looking, then we develop the ability to connect with and open up different areas of the body. And those are, those are just a few things there. We could start working with ideas of, or spontaneous experiences of perhaps feelings of bliss, which we can allow to ride on the coattails of the breath, or perhaps it's a sense of light, or a sense of clarity, or a sense of spaciousness. But if those experiences naturally come up, then we move those through. We move those through the body. If you're familiar with Vajrasattva practice, that's the general idea. So this is what we're working with.